You may well have heard that you should be breathing through your nose, and you might have wondered why when so many of us breathe through our mouth. Now, from an evolutionary standpoint, we were never actually meant to breathe through our mouths. This is almost like our backup system, and it developed because we began to talk, which is something that our animal friends don't do. And are breathing through their nose. Okay. Now, when you breathe through your nose, all sorts of amazing things are happening that do not happen when you breathe through your mouth. And you may well have already heard me speak on this podcast, on this YouTube channel, about the fact that so many of us are breathing in what's known as a dysfunctional pattern. And what that actually means is that we're breathing in a way that is causing our body to have more stress. And I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of seeing people so stressed out and being stressed out myself. But the problem is that we have lived in this way for so long, we think it's normal, and it is absolutely not. And what has been discovered over the last sort of 10, 15 years that backs up a lot of ancient practices that you might see in pranayama, that where you're doing breathing exercises at the end of yoga, for example, is this return and encouragement to breathe through your nose. So there's a few interesting things that are happening. When we breathe through our nose, not only is that the way we're supposed to breathe, that's the way that evolutionary respiratory was supposed to happen. But what we're doing is the hairs inside our nostrils. I know no one likes to talk about nostril hair, right? But the hairs inside our nostrils are doing an amazing job of filtering and preventing things like dust, pathogens that are in the air from reaching inside of your body. So they're doing a really important job, which obviously isn't happening at the back of your throat. When you breathe in to your mouth, there's no filtration system. So all of those nasties are landing on your lungs. So if you think about, if ever you've been into London and you've used the tube, or you've been in somewhere and you've used the subway, and you blow your nose at the end of the day after being on those, you will know that you have this kind of black gunk in your nose, and it's really unpleasant. Where's that black gunk going if your nose is not stopping it reaching you? It's going into your lungs, it's going into your chest, and it's being absorbed by your body, which is a huge toxic problem. What also happens in your nose is that when you're breathing in, your nose actually has these kind of large cavities at the back that go almost sort of very close to where your brain is. It's going right back and up. And the holes, if you like, the spaces in your head where your inner chamber of your nostrils actually are like little cone shells. You know, the type where you used to hold them to your ear when you're a kid, and there's a kind of spiral to them. It's a little bit like that inside, but on both nostrils. And what happens is that the air isn't just going straight in, it's actually going up in a spiral, if you like. I always think about it a little bit like a tornado or a torpedo going up, warming up that breath that I'm taking in. Now, that's really important because it means that when the breath reaches my lungs, it is already exactly the optimal temperature that my lungs need it in to absorb the parts that it needed, the oxygen. The thing that happens is when we breathe through our nose, we're also getting that breath to a level of moisturization. There's a hydration that's happening. Some of it's connected with the mucus in your nose. And this means that when it reaches your lungs, it is also of the right consistency for your lungs to be able to deal with it. And none of those things are happening when you breathe through your mouth. So not only have you got dirt and filth and toxins, pathogens going in, but you've also got a temperature that is difficult for your body to process, that puts your body under more stress. You've also got it as a dry entity going into a wet entity. And if you've ever been outside on a really cold day and you've kind of breathed in that cold air, you can feel that heaviness on your chest. So that's kind of going on all the time without us realizing when we breathe through our mouth. The other thing is that when we breathe through our mouth long term, it actually causes us to have some level of facial facial disfiguration. There's all sorts of research and background studies that have been done on this, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just know that over time you are changing the way your face looks. And this is particularly true for very young children who are mouth breathing. Now, our society, we're so used to people breathing through their mouth that we don't think it's a problem. But what we're seeing now is that the science and the research is backing up that this really isn't good for us. The other thing that happens from a hormonal point of view is that when we breathe through our chest, predominantly that is a stress response. So when we breathe through our mouth, we breathe into our chest, and actually not even all of our lungs, but approximately 15 to 25% of your lungs. And that is going to be a much shallower breath. And when you have a shallow breath, but predominantly in your chest, in your lungs, then you are telling your brain that your body is stressed and that there is a danger. And so then your fight or flight reactions kick in. And when we're in fight or flight, we don't know any longer have saber-toothed tigers coming after us, but it might be a ping on your mobile phone. It might be a ping on your desktop. It might be because you're watching blue lights on your phone. All sorts of things in our modern lives are making us more stressed. And what happens then is that the body is then releasing hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. And when you've got cortisol and adrenaline in your body, you're not able to fully rest, digest, and repair your body. And what's happened over time is that because of the way modern society is, we're constantly in those stress patterns, and we've become so used to them, we don't know how to switch them off. But let me tell you, the beginning to breathe through your nose for the majority of the time that you are breathing, you're going to massively change your physical and mental health, okay? Which then has an impact on your emotional well-being as well. So what happens when we breathe through our nose is that we have this forming up turbine sequence of those shell-like areas inside your nose known as the conchi. And as a result of that, it's then going slower into your body. And when you're taking a slower breath, you're actually more likely to activate your diaphragm just underneath your ribs, and you're going to be more likely to breathe with the support of your abdominal muscles as well. And when we do that, what we're doing is slowing down the breath, but we're also then activating our parasympathetic nervous system, the bit that's responsible for us feeling peaceful, the bit that's responsible for telling our bodies and our brains that we are safe and that it is okay to have all of those other functions such as rest, deep sleep, repair, which happens through deep sleep, and all of those functions that the body can do miraculously to make us well and to build our immune system, and also for our gut health as well. Digestion can properly take place. So you may well have seen that in order to encourage bodies to begin to remember how to breathe through our nose, because we do need to retrain ourselves, many people begin mouth taping. And that might be mouth taping at night or for a few minutes or 20 minutes or so in the day. This can have a huge impact on your health. I'm not going all into that today, but just be aware there'll be another episode soon on mouth taping. But when you breathe through your nose, you are having filtration, you are getting rid of pathogens, they're not able to enter your body, you are increasing the impact of oxygen, you're increasing the carbon dioxide and oxygen exchange. You are allowing your body to be more likely to fall into a coherent state where everything, your brain and your heart and your breath, are working together in an optimal state. You are warming the air up to the right temperature, and you are also moisturizing it to the right temperature. There's another little thing that I'm going to just briefly mention here, and again, there's going to be another episode about that, is that when you breathe through your nose, you are pulling into your sinuses, into your sinus cavities, magic dust. It's nitric oxide, which years ago we used to think was terrible and actually poisonous for our bodies. But we've actually discovered that this does so many important things, including helping vasodilation. What this means is that it means that our blood is able to flow much better, which means that we're going to have more oxygen reaching our vital organs, making us much more healthy. Now, this only happens through nose breathing. It's the only part where this is happening. So if you don't ever mouth breathe, if you don't ever nose breathe, you are not having the benefit of this special magic dust. And look out for that episode coming really soon. If you found this interesting, then please, or you've got any questions, please comment below and make sure you hit subscribe.